So in today's video, I'm sharing 5 critical mistakes to avoid when ending a friendship. But if you're new, my name is Michelle Ferris. I'm a psychotherapist and I love helping people create relationships that work. So the first critical mistake to avoid when ending a friendship is ignoring the red flags. Maybe you have a friend that takes advantage of you or only calls you when they want something. You're not a real priority to them. There's some early warning signs that are really important for you to identify. And it's really those signs that tell you the friendship isn't necessarily mutual or beneficial. And those warning signs are going to tell you in your gut that something isn't right, that the friendship is more one-sided or even toxic, because they're not necessarily nice to you, or they only ask you to do things when they're bored or lonely or when they need something. Those are some really important warning signs that I want you to pay attention to. So let's do a quick exercise. I want you to get some pen and paper, and I want you to write down what are those early warning signs in your friendship that are telling you that it's not a good idea to stay friends. And I want you to trust yourself when you're writing down this list. Don't judge it, because part of what we need to do is really assess what those early warning signs are, what doesn't feel right to you in that friendship. In fact, every single time I've ignored a red flag, years later it pops up and it's way worse, and I don't want that for you. Now, the second critical mistake that I want you to avoid when ending a friendship is ending the friendship by sending a letter or text. Okay, so many people are doing massive amounts of emotional communication by text, and I don't recommend that for a lot of reasons. One is, have you ever noticed how much braver you are when sending a text versus actually talking to someone face to face or on the phone? Yeah, you probably are saying things that you would never necessarily say to their face, but you feel more courageous because when you're texting someone, it's a one-way conversation. You feel a lot braver to say things that you probably wouldn't ordinarily say if you were face to face with that person. The other problem with ending a friendship by text or email is that it doesn't give you any idea what the response is going to be. And it doesn't give that other person a chance to respond. Even though it may feel easier to have this one-way dialogue where you're just saying, hey, I'm going to end the friendship. Because here's the other challenge with sending it by email or text. You're not going to have any closure. You're going to send that text and you're going to have no idea how it's going to land on the other end. And that's why sending texts or emails to end a friendship never really works that well. Now, if you've ever done that, say me too in the comments. I'm right there with you. I understand. This is going to be so much better for you once you know what to avoid. Now, the next critical mistake I want you to avoid is ending the friendship too soon. So this happened to me a couple of times where I got super frustrated with someone and I was really contemplating ending the friendship. But it was a really long history. We had many years of friendship together, so I waited. And what I realized later was that we just weren't connecting, and I was getting a little frustrated. But overall, the relationship was worth keeping. But if we make that decision in the heat of the moment, like say you're just really frustrated with your friend and there's some conflict and you haven't been able to work anything out yet, it's easier to want to bail. The problem is that if you end a friendship based on your frustration in the moment, you may look back and regret it, because friends are not easy to come by, especially in adulthood. So we really want to be mindful of whether or not we're actually ready to end a friendship. Because sometimes a healthy alternative is to just take a break. I've done that a few times and it's been really helpful. Now, another critical mistake I want you to avoid when ending a friendship is making the other person wrong. This is so common, where we build a whole entire story about what was done to us, how they didn't support us, how they treated us, and we form this huge victim story where we're not at fault at all. The other person has hurt us, but we haven't done anything wrong. And the problem is that while, yes, we probably have had experiences where the other person has hurt us, it's probably not been as one-sided as we make it out to be. Because let's face it, when you grow up in a dysfunctional family and you feel hurt, you may feel more justified in making yourself the victim, because in childhood, we typically didn't get our hurt and our pain validated. So in adult friendships, we may tend to have a hard time letting go of the story as being more balanced. For instance, I had my part and they had their part. That's a much more mature friendship. But one of the critical mistakes people make when ending a friendship is that they make it all about what the other person did wrong, and we miss the opportunity to look at the bigger picture. If you can relate to this, say me too in the comments. This video is going to help. Now, the next critical mistake I want you to avoid when ending a friendship is not looking at our part. And again, this goes with the last one. It's super easy for me to tell you the story about how I've been hurt, but it's harder for me to look at where I've been hurtful to someone else. But I guarantee in every single relationship we have a part to play, whether it's in reaction to what they've done to us or just on our own, what we've said and done. Because let's face it, none of us are perfect. There is no such thing as having a perfect best friend. In fact, I realized that that was one of the aha moments when I was looking at my friendships, was that I had this fantasy that I would have the perfect best friend. And you know what? There is no such thing. But you can learn to cultivate that friendship and accept that person for being exactly who they are, because that's part of healthy friendship. It's really easy to look at what was done to us. It's much harder, and it takes a lot more maturity to look at where we haven't treated the other person well. What have we done or said that has possibly caused the other person harm and damaged the friendship? Because that is the one thing that really helped me get better friendships, is looking at my part. Because if I didn't see my own part, I got stuck in that victim story, and I kept attracting the same friend over and over again because I wasn't ready for a mature friendship. A mature friendship requires us to look at our part that we played, whether it's how we treat the other person, whether or not we have boundaries, whether or not we get too dependent on the other person. There's a lot of things we do that need to be looked at when it comes to friendship. But not being able to take responsibility for our part really impacts us in how we end a friendship. Because again, we're going to end that friendship with a victim story, and I don't want that for you. So the next thing I want you to do is go watch my video on how to create a healthy friendship. Thanks so much.